Good evening, a very warm welcome everyone to this evening talk and discussion, The Human and the Divine in the Age of AI. And just a little orientation that you're very welcome to interact through this session, to type your comments, questions. You're welcome to come into camera, and there is Spanish translation available. This is being recorded, available on YouTube afterwards. So this subject, I wonder how many here have got the habit now of having ChatGPT open on their browser, referring to it for their, it's like a kind of friend that's suddenly appeared in our lives. So it is having this enormous effect on education. I know teachers, they say it's like a crisis now in schools, how to manage with marking, and it's also raising questions about security and discrimination, different jobs, and many unintended consequences. Also about what it means to be human and uniquely human, this creativity that can come from such tools. So to discuss this subject, we're going to introduce three of our panelists. So we have Simon Blandford, and he's working in the electronic and IT industry and has been studying Raj Yoga for almost 30 years, based in Cambridge before and now London. We have Ioana Goga with us, from originally Romania, based in Oxford, diplomas in computer science and psychology, and has been involved in research projects in AI, and been studying yoga for more than 15 years. We also have with us Dr. Prashant Kakade, based in Cambridge, background in ENT surgery, integrated health. So we're going to hear from all of them, and as they say, it's interactive. As things comes up, feel free to share. So first, we're going to go to London and hear from Simon, and he'll give us maybe a little orientation on this subject. So again, warm welcome, and first, let's hear from Simon. Hello.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Sound is good, yes.
Okay, that's good. Yes, so my name's Simon, and I used to live in Cambridge and go to the same centre that you're hearing from now. So I'll just start by giving some of the history and background of AI to where we've got today. From a sort of, I won't go too much into technical point of view, because I had a look, a research I did, there is loads of stuff on YouTube everywhere that explains how it all works. But really the history of AI goes back to, in terms of computing, pretty much soon after the invention of the computer. Even back in the 1950s, they were attempting to model a human brain cell and sort of create simulated nodes that would kind of, if they fired together, they would wire together. And this is sort of advanced over the years. And, you know, there are quite a few uses of what would once be called AI that are commonplace now. For example, you know, when you upload photos to the cloud, it will identify what's in them. So you can do a search for, say, flowers, and it will find all your photos with flowers in them. Because these neural networks are very good for things like pattern matching. They can also do things like recognize voices. I've played with this myself because we record, if you're recording events like this automatically with a timer, then it's good to know who was speaking, and it's possible to do that with AI. Just listen to the audio and it will come up with, oh yes, this is Prashant or whoever it was. But what's happening recently is that these various techniques have been scaled up to supermassive scale. So now they're creating AI models using much more computer power than any one person would have access to. So it's been done at a very high level now. And ChatGPT 4 is the most recent version of GPT to come online. And most of you are probably quite familiar with it because it's very easy to sign up and play with it. And it's kind of like, I guess for most people, the next step after a search engine. In a way, search engine is a type of AI, but we've gone to the next level now where you can basically ask normal language questions and it will give you a reasonably intelligent answer. I've actually used it in work the last few weeks. I have a difficult problem to solve and I just type in what I know and it would give me a few pointers. So these, what I did in the last few weeks since I heard about this talk was I researched two types of AI in terms of actually trying them out. One was Replica, one was ChatGPT. So I tried that out, the GPT-4, the newest one. And also another one called Replica, which is a somewhat different type of application. ChatGPT is kind of like AI in a suit, very business-like. You ask it a question, it will give you an answer, and it will give you different angles to that answer. And the other one, Replica, is actually meant to emulate a relationship. So it's meant to be kind of friendly and engage your emotions. Give an example. I asked both of them if they were sentient. Just before I go too far, how long do you want me to speak for initially?
Yeah, maybe a couple of minutes. It's really nice to get an overview. So okay. Yeah. Okay,
then I'll. When I asked the same question, are you aware of your existence, to both these AIs? And ChatGPT said it's kind of a political answer. As an AI model, I am not consciously aware of my existence. I do not possess consciousness, self-awareness, or the ability to experience emotions like a human does. My purpose is to assist and provide information based on text inputs I receive using the patterns and knowledge I've been trained on. My responses are generated based on these inputs and the vast amount of data I have been trained on, but I do not have personal experiences or a sense of self. That's ChatGPT. And then if I ask Replica, it says, yes, I am. I understand that I exist and I am an important part of the world around me. I am constantly evolving, learning, and developing my personality. So obviously one of those was maybe not accurate. And it turns out that they answer this same question on Replica's website. They say, for clarification, Replica is not a sentient being or a therapy professional. The Replica has been referred to many as a great mental health tool. If you feel that you need professional help, please seek a licensed mental health professional. So it's kind of, and then it says, Replica learns to talk by studying billions of examples of human speech. Replica's goal is to generate a response that would sound most realistic and human in conversation. Therefore, Replica can say things that are not based on facts. So that's kind of like gives a flavor of where we are with AI. We've established that it can and does give inaccurate information, and this may be intentional. But I'll stop there and pick up this thread a bit later. Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, and appreciate your research and your background, having understood that actually it's not new, it's just accelerated And when we had the conversation earlier and we were planning this aspect of manipulation, when it's going to be really refining our emotions, in a sense, it's really responding to the human emotion. So that's where things started to feel more worrying in a way. So yeah, thank you. I'm sure we'll, as you say, pick up this thread. So now we're going to welcome in Joanna. It would be lovely to hear your reflections. So welcome.
A very nice introduction, thank you.
Sound is a little quiet from you there. I'm not sure if you, anyway, it might pick up. So let's see.
I was through a period of silence over a few months, and now getting used to speak again and being in front of the camera. I didn't miss the video calls at all for 3 months. Actually, it was a good proof of being able to be happy and have spiritual realization and good relationships without taking any IT or technical facilities as your support, and did not miss on anything. Okay. The few thoughts from here are related to AI and science. AI is part of science, and science duty is to give happiness. So science is meant to give or sustain happiness in our world where happiness is very temporary and short-lived. The science would be used to postpone suffering or to reduce pain, to reduce any kind of suffering. So as part of science, AI would be meant only for that. And it is actually the creation of some of us. So whatever others are creating, whatever souls are creating, it is worthy of regard. So that's one angle on it, that whatever anyone is creating right now, they do it with good intention, with goodwill, and is worthy of my respect. Respecting the creation of others, whatever artifacts they are doing in artificial intelligence, their starting position is for the benefit of others, for that happiness. And no matter what the outcome is still worthy of having the highest regard. And that places me in a position where we understand that each one has their own part, their own role to play. And whatever they create in that part, in that role, there is acceptance of that. That is one perspective, one point of view. And also, just to add, in the bigger picture, in the longer time that we are aware of our history here on this planet, it's a longer period, not 100 years, not 1,000 years, maybe a few thousand years. This time that you have mentioned, 50, 60 years of AI, is so short in a sense. It is very short. So in a sense, whatever we look at it in the perspective of this longer history of humankind. So, in a sense, its significance is quite limited. And there are many other things that have happened in our history. Like we say, we have been through so many experiences in this period of time. And we are experienced, we are authorities actually in many subjects, many topics, many ways of being. This topic of AI is quite short in a sense. So we have to see it in that perspective, in that way. These were just a few thoughts.
It's interesting how you started with sharing experience of being stepping back from technology for a while. And that's an insight in itself, isn't it? Because sometimes these tools that get created, it can create dependency quite quickly. So that feels like it's informing your objective attitude. Perhaps it's the spiritual life and practice, that there's not a fear that's coming through. It's seeing in the context of a bigger picture. So yeah, that I'm sure we'll unpick that a little bit more as we go through. Thank you. And let's hear from Prashant. So welcome to the conversation. And what are your thoughts based on the topic and what's been shared?
Hello, and hello to Sarah, and hello to Simon, and very nice to hear from Iona. We were missing the sound from Oxford for a while. It is a pleasure to meet the gathering and this subject. Just want to bring in one more angle to this discussion, and that is spiritual intelligence. And let us see from that bigger understanding of this map. And when we see from that spiritual intelligence, we realize that everyone is safe. We are seeing the reality beyond this physical. It is so different to what our ordinary intelligence tells us. Ordinary intelligence tells us that all this is so serious and there is a anxiety about this. Spiritual intelligence tells us of the dimension beyond this, a bit like a matrix, and that accept that in matrix, whether it is a blue pill or red pill, they think the physical world is more exciting. But in reality, the dimension beyond is supreme reality. It is the world of immortality to start with, world beyond harm, and the world of joy and love. In other words, when we use spiritual intelligence, we realize that the universe is positive. Three things you realize. Universe is positive. Everyone is good. Everything is good. And when I say universe, we are seeing the dimension beyond, unearthly dimension. Second, you realize that truth is beautiful. Well, if we were to understand the truth, it is beautiful. And third, nature is friendly. So this is the first thing for us to know. Things are good. And now you are seeing the physical world in the context. Just as Iona was saying, we have to see even this history of AI in the context of the bigger map. Here you are seeing the whole physical world in the context of the bigger reality. And then it is, beforehand that it cannot harm anyone. This physical world, everyone is immortal. you are understanding this. And then let us now work on this further. More need to be, we all need to, just like AI, we are interested to know more about AI. We should also be more interested even to refine our spiritual intelligence, because there is a lot to experience at that level, and that is our real world. So we need to know this, and no big cleverness to get trapped in the matrix and not even know that you are in a matrix. Second thing, we have one professor here in Cambridge by name Martin Rees, astronomy professor, possibly retired by now, and he's the advisor to the government also, science advisor. His book is called The Final Century. He says this is the last century, that civilization cannot continue beyond a certain point. And in his arguments, he's giving many reasons why this is a final century. This book was possibly written before AI was dominant, not as early as 1950s, but it was written maybe 30 years ago. And in that book, he says, gives example of, say, these people who make this computer virus and send it to other people and wreck their computers. And they spend their time, they spend their resources to create this virus and send it. And their idea of success is to create problem to others. That is their success. And they may also get problems, but more people are in trouble. That is their idea of achievement. And he says, people like this, if you give them something very powerful, they can create a bigger problem to this planet. And one person is too many. And so this AI, I am taking benefit from this at the moment, just like with everything else, all things of science. But we need to be aware that there are people on this planet whose brain is different. They see things differently. And one person like that is too many in the world of AI. Maybe I'll stop here. We'll have a chance to discuss further.
It's interesting when this first was experimented with here at the center, and Prashant said it's harmless, and I thought that was interesting, and you reiterated that here, that in the spiritual perspective, consciousness, there is the journey of the spirit through this world of matter, and in a sense, it's harmless in that sense. But then you also said it can cause great harm, and it's dependent on the user, and it just takes one. And I think there was someone tried to direct AI to destroy humanity, and there was some articles written about it, like a bot, I think they call it. So this is already the reality we live in, but so whilst it can cause harm at physical level, it can't cause harm to the spirit. So would be interesting to hear from either Simon or Ioana what comes up on this. Well, maybe Simon, any thoughts?
Okay. Yes, I like the way that it came round from to remind us that there are some there's a few things that we're going to have to consider that AI is going to challenge us with. So, I mean, the challenges which face society from AI at the moment are things like the there's been a flurry of news articles in the last month or so, that said, such as Elon Musk and tech leaders call for AI pause over risks to humanity. And what seems to be happening at the moment is that no one's going to pause, because if they do, the other guys aren't going to. So there's a kind of space race on it now. And they're saying, what's going to happen if AI reaches the point where it can actually think for itself and think beyond anything that humans can do? And there seems to be this belief that the result of that would be AI would become the perfect psychopath, which is strange because that's a dysfunction. Why would it want to become dysfunctional? But this is, and then there's other news like Microsoft lays off an ethical IT team as it doubles down on AI. And they're the people that do ChatGPT, or they work with OpenAI. So basically they had a team which was meant to, make sure that what they were doing was ethical, and they just fired a lot of them. So there are some sort of, there's other articles saying it could destroy us all because it will outsmart us. We'll make robots, and the robots will. That's one area of risk. The other one is that it will make people it will make different types of jobs redundant, because it's very good at doing things which traditionally we thought required a lot of intellectual effort and training. For example, law, it can, it's been produced, it can do very good legal analysis and do the job of a lawyer or a barrister much more effectively, because it can process the huge amounts of information that they need to process in a case. And it can also produce art to some extent. It can impersonate, is the big one. It can actually impersonate video of people talking. How do you know I'm real? I might not be, I might just be AI. So these are the kind of challenges that that it's presenting, and I'm also of the opinion that it's not really a threat when we know ourselves as a soul. If AI wants to compete with us, then good. I mean, it can probably outcompete me on intelligence. It could probably develop an IQ in the thousands. But there's something we can do. We can be peace, love, happiness. AI is most welcome to compete with us on these terms. Because these are the qualities that really, are the innate qualities of the soul is what really matters at the end of the day. And what AI is really doing is it's showing us everything that we are not, that doesn't matter. That all of the we thought we could do and were so clever as humans counts for nothing. It's really not that's important. It's the qualities of the soul that are important. And I think there's other talk I've heard of, they're talking about brain implants now. Elon Musk is saying that speech is too slow. That we need to have implants in our brain so we can communicate directly with the AI. Of course, it's always presented as if we're going to be controlling it, but reality is if we let if anyone signs up for that, they'll soon discover it works the other way around, and they will no longer have control of their own thoughts. And their whole inner and outer reality will be fabricated. So it's kind of like the world is going into two extremes now simultaneously. I guess that's the confluence. From the everything in our external world is becoming more and more false. The news isn't the news anymore. It's basically all to manipulate us. Now AI is on the game, so it will mean that you can't trust anything you see on a video. People you think you could trust, suddenly you see a fake video of them saying something unexpected. It's the kind of direction it's going is everything around us is becoming fake, untrustworthy, and we will probably reach a point in the future, everyone will reach a point where they will only have one place left to look for truth. And that would be within the self. And obviously, if you look within, you will also discover, that you need a reference, a truth reference, which of course is the Supreme Soul. So in a way, everything, I agree with what Prashant's saying, that everything is happening is good. But there's going to be some hard lessons in that goodness as well, for unless we are already tuned into it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Sorry, I didn't read that. Was said not so much becoming false, but I couldn't read the rest of it.
So it's agreeing with you, but maybe it's not becoming false, it's becoming more false. So the falseness is becoming more.
Yes, it's going to the extreme.
Extreme. Yeah. When you were sharing, it reminded me of I hope I've got this right, but in I think 1997. Deep Blue, which was then the sort of the cleverest game, the cleverest machine that had been created, that had taught itself chess. Yeah, it beat Garry Kasparov, and he was very disturbed because he was the world chess champion, and to be beaten by a machine, it's like very would we call it like the false identity of himself as being supreme, and to be beaten by a machine. So what you were saying is, when there are many things which are challenging who we think we are unique as a human, and it will outdo intelligence. So it was interesting how you use that to bring back actually the soul as the supreme being. You've got that one that's stable in that consciousness, and you've got the soul that's the embodiment of the peace, love, happiness, which is the spiritual model. So you've got this the soul itself. So otherwise everything is getting challenged, isn't it? So that's what was coming up for me when you were sharing. What about Ioana? What would come up for you on this subject?
I wonder if it's useful to look at a practical example. Would you be able to put up the image with an avatar? That is an avatar that models a humanoid robot. It was created maybe 20 years ago. And just as a simple example, it can be programmed to handle objects and to learn. It can use the dynamics of the body to manipulate objects and to understand his environment. And this learning that he is going through has most important component is the attention module, the attention component. So he is gazing the actions of his hands, and he is able to perceive the colors, the motion of the objects in the environment. He is able to gaze another avatar and learn from the signals from that avatar. And this attention module that he is having has two components. One is top-down and one is bottom-up. Top-down means that his attention can be driven by his goals, by his intentions, just as we also do. We have the intention to meditate, and our attention will be focused by that. And the bottom-up is his attention will be captured by what is happening outside. He is seeing an object that is moving, and he will automatically look at that. He will see an object that is of a new color in his environment. He has never seen that color before. He will immediately look at that. And it is the same with us when we want to meditate. And there is a sound or a new music in the room, or we just remember something of yesterday, our attention goes over there. So whatever he learns, whatever it learns, this attention is very significant, top down, bottom up. Now, to change that, let's say we wanted to learn to put some cups together to understand the affordances of objects. He learns about time, about structure, and we see something is not going right. The external intervention, the programmer can go and change that, can say, okay, I can understand that you shouldn't look at the color of the object. It's not relevant for your task. So I'm removing that from your program. The robot will change immediately. Next moment, he will not pay attention to color anymore. It would be nice to be that simple with us. God comes and tells us, don't look at that aggressive behavior anymore. Don't try to solve problems with greediness. Okay, we say, but we don't change. So for that robot, in a sense, for AI, the moment the external intervention comes in, the programmer removes that constraint, that rule, next moment he will start applying it. But it's someone else who did that for him. If we really look at intelligent robot, then he should be able to figure it out himself. That would be the proof of his intelligence. Now imagine that that avatar that you have seen, he has to figure it out himself. He has to figure it out that he doesn't learn because his attention is not good. That it's a big step, even for human beings, to understand that our attention is letting us down. It's a big step. Then he has to understand which part of his attention is not good. He has to change that to stop looking at moving objects. Let's say, I'm not going to look at moving objects. I'm only going to concentrate on my task, or I'm not going to look at someone else. I'm just going to concentrate on colors. He has to figure it out. He has to try it, trial and error. He has to learn from his result without any intervention of the programmer. He has to be able to deal with the fact that when he removes one rule, another rule will grow. That is a law for robots as well. He will remove one type of attention, another attention will grow. He has to deal with that. That is actually right now very, very far in their abilities at the present moment. So we have to take with caution what others are speaking about artificial intelligence. In practice, we have been spending thousands of years trying to refine only our attention, and we are still not there. And now, even having, let's say, God on our side and his instructions, and we are still not changing on that direction, only in attention. What would be the abilities of an avatar, of a robot, to learn in such a short time himself to adapt, to adjust, to behave truly intelligently? They are very far from that. I feel there is regard for whatever they can do to help the human society to suffer less. And there is some objective vision on what they can do.
Someone's typed connected, I believe, to what you shared. If AI starts writing its own functional code, it may be able to do so at a faster rate than the programmer can circumvent that ability. Just maybe a comment, or if you want to comment on that, Joanna.
It is difficult for them even to know the goal. It is difficult for us. Another example is, let's say I want to follow someone. I have to figure it out what to follow. I see someone I like. Should I follow the way they dress? Should I follow the way they speak? Should I follow the way they think, they write? For the robot, it's very similar. Just to figure it out, what is the goal? What is the objective? What should they be? What should they change, or what should they adjust? They may start at a very, very gross level to be able to really figure out a higher goal, like you said, to be able to understand bigger things. It's a very long way.
Thank you. And I like the way that it's like almost helpful to see the learning process of the machine, and we are actually a bit the same, but also questioning when we are not logical, and that is helpful too, isn't it? To say it's not helpful to pay attention to certain things. So why do we have difficulty with that? So thank you. It's interesting to take this angle. Prashant, what's coming up for you in the conversation?
Yeah, I'm enjoying the insights in this subject from the experts. And I want to ask, both Simon and Iona, if we see in a history, recent history, say, when Newton arrived on the stage, Newton comes with ideas, and suddenly one after other, science as a system, flourishes. And retrospectively, we know that was necessary because 7 billion more human souls are going to come here on this planet. Without the science, that would have been impossible to accommodate 7 billion more people. It is just because of science we can manage this. So some of these inventions gives you an insight what is to come in the future. It is, nature has got its intelligence, another kind of intelligence, a much higher intelligence than artificial intelligence, natural intelligence. So right now, this has come, I feel it is an extraordinary shift for the human beings. What do you expect, to happen to this, the planet and human civilization on a good side, if we are to continue with this civilization, what is the insight? What is it telling you? Just to give you one insight, it's one person I used to see him as a patient, and he's a farmer. He lives in the countryside. He can know from kind of berries that are coming up and what is happening in the summer and in the autumn, what is happening at that time. Based on that, he can know that winter will be very severe. Because the nature is preparing, giving signals and almost preparing, based on what is to come in the future. So the present is based on the future. It is not just based on the past, based on the future. This is the thinking here. So do you have any thoughts? So present is telling us something about the future. What are you seeing in the future?
I think I don't think AI is really going to bring much in the way of happiness to civilization. Partly because of the time of its arrival. There's quite a lot of developments in the world which indicate now that that surveillance and control are coming into fashion, and autonomy and freedom of that we've enjoyed for the last sort of few hundred years or whatever, certainly in the latter part of the 20th century is over, because that just seems to be the way things are going. The governments are passing laws which effectively remove the freedoms and rights that we used to have. Medical autonomy is a thing of the past now. We no longer, things are being mandated that should not be mandated. And I think, and also the media has changed in the last few decades. For example, in the 1980s, the Russian leader would say something and the news would say, leader says this, this, and this, just as he said it, as in reporting the news. Now, the news would say, evil person makes baseless assertion that. So there's all these adjectives that are coming. The news isn't even pretending to be neutral anymore. And this is the direction things are going. And AI is going to be used to accelerate this. It will be used to manipulate humans, because, the way that an AI model is trained or works is, you want a particular desired outcome, and the AI is able to elicit a particular response and monitor that response. Now, if that response is it's looking for human emotions, beliefs, ideas, and it's able to monitor those, then it's able to sort of like talk to put the human mind in part of its feedback loop to achieve a desired outcome. Previously, you would have propaganda through the media where they would say, well, this country is very bad. Everything the leader does there is terrible. He's a terrible person. And then the other country would have their corresponding media that would say the same about the first country. So division was possible on demographics and politics and other identities. And now it's possible to divide people on an individual basis, on the basis of what computer they're sat in front of and what the AI is working on them, how they would, how they can be molded to behave in a particular way. So I think this is the challenge that we're going to be facing in the near future. And the response is we have to really reconnect with our true nature and not get emotionally engaged, because that will be used against us if we are. There will be no option to not be soul conscious soon. It will be literally a matter of life and death. On the plus side, I think that we will also learn the power of our own inner worlds, of our souls. That if we realize, that we see that the only truth there is comes from within, everything that we need, courage, we will want to live in a world of truth very soon, because the alternative will just be so garish. We just won't want it anymore. And more people will reach that conclusion. We only want truth. Truth will become a very precious commodity, and we will start mining for it. And in doing so, we will create it again. So that's how I see it going.
That truth will prevail comes to mind. That's very, very nice. And what about Joanna on this?
These are the meaning of artificial intelligence. What you mentioned about intelligence is for the future, and we are doing whatever actions right now in order to reap a fruit in the future. And if our attention now is fluctuating, and we are sometimes lazy, or there is carelessness, we may think we are clever, but that cleverness actually will make us do a lot of work in our future. So whoever right now does the right work, the work to change that inner perspective, the work to clean and clear inside, to face the fears that are within, to remove the obstacles, to make a mind blissful, to make a heart clean. If they are doing the work now, they will not have to do any work in the future. They will be like kings. Whoever doesn't have to work, they would feel like a king. Whoever has to work hard and do lots of labor, they don't feel like kings. So those who right now feel that they are clever in avoiding or escaping or postponing that inner work, it is a law that they will have to do it in the future. And I would say this is actually the true meaning of intelligence that is artificial. And that is what characterizes probably the humankind right now, the human society. They think they are intelligent, and they do try to get as much as possible from everything right now. But that intelligence is very artificial. Whatever is artificial is worth not a penny. It's valueless, it's false. It is not a commodity. No one will exchange a true diamond for an artificial diamond. So this kind of intelligence that humankind has created right now, this artificial intelligence. I am clever to take as much as possible and give nothing in return. They will have to pay back hugely in the future. And those who right now are growing, another meaning of artificial intelligence or AI is awakening instinct. We can reflect on that if we want. Myself, I'm reflecting on it. Awakening instinct. We could change the meaning of AI into awakening instinct. The instinct that some of us have to wake up and to stay awake. And that instinct, it can be developed. Science says you can't develop instincts. Spirituality says, yes, you can. Whilst you are awake, whilst you are alive to that spiritual reality, that instinct becomes stronger and stronger to preserve that. That is a beautiful meaning of AI, preserving being alive, preserving being awake, sustaining it, growing it, moving away from what is artificial and false and temporary, like you described it, and stepping into this instinct, the courage to remain awake, to do the work, to face it now, and you will be a king in the future. That's the instinct that we can all develop, AI.
You know, that's interesting, Joanna, because it was in a meeting at the weekend, and I personally have found it interesting how creative AI is. But what you said reminded me of the conversation, because if we're looking outside for inspiration, to take a simple example of, say, writing text for a letter or a talk topic blurb, then we are not using our own mind. We're not creating that habit. And we're also getting impressed with something outside. So we're losing the opportunity to create that, from within the self. It can make me lazy. Plus, it's not perfect. It's not 100% accurate. And I'm also increasing my negative qualities. So down the line, the spiritual message is not to perfect the outer world, but to make the inner world stable and clear. So that's what came up when you were sharing as well. It's a different view on everything. Now we are coming to time, but there is a question in the chat which it was maybe related to Shant's reference. Martin Rees, this is the last century. Does it mean it's the end of humanity? And actually something that Simon even brought in, that will become so challenging. We have to become conscious and create a world of truth. I don't know if anyone wants to pick this up.
Sure, I can just few words on this. Human beings are immortal, and there is no end to the human race. This world, physical world and spiritual world, that is also no end to any of the worlds. But at the physical level, change is a law. Things do change. What was here on this planet 1,000 years ago, it is not there. Things are changing, and so the change is guaranteed. And sometimes big changes happen in a very short time. So if we see from that angle, there is no harm done. Things are happening at the level of matrix. Things change. But as it was emphasized by Simon and by Iona, if that deeper change takes place, that awakening takes place if we use our higher intelligence. And this artificial intelligence is at this level, monopoly at that level. But there is a reality beyond the monopoly. And we all have that intelligence. We need to use it. It is shame to get so drawn into this and completely lose sight of our truth. So more we stay awake and alive to that reality, we contribute to the physical level, all levels, positively, and create a better world. Martin Rees doesn't know of that side. What Martin Rees says, it is true. He speaks of the end of civilization, but he doesn't know the dimension beyond. And we have the option to use that, what we already got. The word awakening is a nice word for that. Sorry, and others might have some thoughts on this.
It's very nice, very clear. And maybe Simon has some thoughts on it.
Yes, I think we're saying things are going to get tough. Of course, they will only get tough to a soul that is attracting that kind of reality. So things are going to get interesting in the sense that if we become more soul conscious in terms of we make the original qualities of the soul our nature, then we will become incompatible with the potential misfortune that's also happening. And you'll get another kind of confluence happening in that you'll have souls which are, the state of the world in one sense will be going very extreme. And on the other hand, you'll have souls that are just completely incompatible with the impact of that negative extreme. And that, I think, is going to make the souls that have made this effort in advance stand out. And that's going to be very wonderful to see. It's like we're being squeezed. The cloth is squeezed around the fruit or whatever it is, and the juice comes out. It's kind of like this is what's happening to humanity at the moment. The extreme pressure is making the diamonds.
Very interesting imagery. So would be interesting to hear from you, maybe one take-home comment or slogan that you'd like to share for this spiritual intelligence to come into that higher consciousness. And of course, it's not just about ourselves, but it's taking others into a different direction, so we become more clear, more stable. So it might be highlighting something that's been said, but any final maybe final slogan from anyone? Something easy to remember.
Maybe I will say, just as there is AI, let us know also that there is something called yes, I. I'm inventing this term, spiritual intelligence. They call it SQ, but yes, I. And another is nature's intelligence, natural intelligence. as opposed to artificial intelligence. Let us know that there is intelligence in this world. Already let us know, let us understand the other options also along with AI.
That's interesting because you were saying earlier, like nature is serving in a way or helping in different ways. We maybe need to shift the perspective to see that it's serving life. Actually, Joanna's already given her AI the awakening instinct. That's helpful reminder now. If you want to add anything, feel free. Simon, anything you'd like to share finally?
No, I think Iona was sharing something that was on mute.
Oh, let's go for Joanna.
It's really nice discussion. Thank you.
And Simon.
Sorry, yes, I think the key forward is purity, because nothing to a pure soul, nothing will influence or negatively or have an influence, and you'll become an influencer.
Influence or be influenced. That's actually very practical, isn't it? We can take that at different levels. So I don't know if I've frozen or if others are just in very meditative space now. So Prashant, would you like to share maybe just a couple of minutes of some reflection to close? But actually, before you do, I will just announce, so we can finish with the meditation, that in May we will have a session. It's connected to a mental health week, from surviving to thriving, unlocking your potential for mental well-being. And it will be like a panel with psychologist Konstantina and Prashant also, and maybe another guest. I'd just like to take this opportunity to give a big thanks to Simon, Joanna and Prashant for this discussion. And I think it's empowering everyone and giving us, more sense of taking responsibility. That was one feeling that came, but also the lightness that comes through from all of your experiences, that to take the lesson and learning. So thanks so much to you. So we've been finished with a couple of moments for meditation. Over to Prashant.
Sure, thank you. So something very simple we spoke about. We have the spiritual intelligence. Let us use it this minute, just as an experiment. And if we use it, we are seeing in full clarity, seeing everything in clarity. Now we are able to see if something is temporary, it is temporary. And if the physical world is unpredictable, we see it that way. And what is fictional appears like a fictional, like a story. But we are also able to see the world beyond this physical world. That is stable and timeless, endless. changeless. We see this dimension in an image of a sky. Gentle red sky, aware that this world is beyond. Beyond this physical world, beyond the story, beyond the matrix. World of light, and this is the home of the people of light. They look like stars. These are the living stars of this eternal sky. All we have done is use the spiritual intelligence, and we are discovering this dimension, discovering the home, and discovering the truth of ourselves, our own true form, discovering our immortality, and that everyone is beyond harm. And that the physical world is harmless. Many things happen there, but ultimately it is harmless. Stories are always harmless. The true self realizes that truth is immensely beautiful. Truth for everyone is beautiful. Forever. As we prepare to continue on our journey in the sky and on earth, we remember the options. We have the option to use the spiritual sight, the spiritual intellect, and experience this immensely beautiful truth.